The following installation should be performed by qualified technicians familiar with standard procedures for working on and around today's vehicles with sophisticated electronics. Tools listed here are for general description only, and your tools may vary. It is the installer's responsibility to determine the appropriate style of tool for use in each step. Example: right-angle screwdriver may be used in place of a straight screwdriver to ease removal and installation. Tools required for installation include a ratchet, 10mm and 12mm sockets, a specialty tool or 8mm socket, an extension, torque wrench, wire cutter, pliers, a Phillips screwdriver, a trim removal tool, a clean cloth, and a 50-50 mix of isopropyl alcohol and water. Locate the hood lever on the driver's side kick panel. Pull the hood lever to open the hood. Using a 10mm socket and ratchet, remove and isolate the negative battery cable from the battery. Warning: shock hazard. Do not touch the vehicle's negative battery terminal to the vehicle's positive battery terminal. Serious injury and damage to the vehicle may occur. Remove the fuse panel cover. Using a trim removal tool, remove the driver's side dash end cap panel by prying outward to disengage the 4 pressure clips. Store removed parts in a safe location to prevent damage. Using a Phillips screwdriver, remove the 2 Phillips screws from the side of the lower dash panel. Using a Phillips screwdriver, remove the 2 Phillips screws from the bottom of the panel. Using a trim removal tool, carefully pry outward to release the 1 retaining tab on the side and the 6 pressure clips. Remove the OBD2 connector from the panel. Disconnect any remaining connectors if equipped. Pull upward and rearward to remove the panel, taking care to avoid damaging the panel flange hidden behind the kick panel. Using a ratchet, extension, and 10mm socket, remove the 4 10mm bolts securing the knee bolster plate. When reinstalling the knee bolster, use a torque wrench, extension, and 10mm socket and tighten the 4 10mm bolts to 7 foot-pounds. Warning: the knee bolster plate may be sharp. Using a Phillips screwdriver, remove the 3 Phillips screws securing the steering column shroud. One underneath. Note: to access the screws, insert the key and turn to the accessory position in order to prevent the steering wheel from locking, and 2 behind the steering wheel. Turn the steering wheel for access. Release the tilt steering wheel adjuster lever. Using a trim removal tool, pull down on the bottom trim cover to separate and remove the lower steering column shroud from the vehicle to provide access to the 6-pin ignition switch connector. Adjust the steering wheel to the fully extended position and lock into place. Carefully pull the weather strip away from the side of the driver's kick panel. Using a trim removal tool, remove the driver's side front door step sill trim panel by inserting the trim removal tool under the trim panel and prying upward to release the 4 clips and 2 hooks. Caution: be careful not to damage the driver's side front door step sill trim when removing. Using a specialty tool or 8mm socket, remove the hood latch release handle by compressing the center post tabs while simultaneously prying the handle away from the kick panel with a trim removal tool. If a specialty tool is not available, use an 8mm socket to release the handle. Remove the driver's kick panel by pulling inwards to release the 2 pressure clips. Caution: be careful not to damage the hood lever or the driver's kick panel when removing. Reinstall the weather strip. Locate the 2 6-pin connectors and 1 12-pin connector under the steering wheel column. Disconnect 3 factory female 2 6-pin and 1 12-pin connectors and plug in the corresponding remote start connectors. To avoid interference with the steering column adjustment, locate the M35 connector and T-harness at the center of the steering column and cable tie with the vehicle harness. Using a wire cutter, trim off excess cable tie. Warning: engine stall hazard. To prevent stress or damage to the remote start wire harness, ensure that it does not contact any vehicle components or any sharp metal edges when adjusting the tilt and telescopic steering column in all positions. Ensure that all connectors are fully engaged and locked in place. An engine stall could cause serious physical injury or vehicle damage. Locate the factory female 4-pin brake switch connector located on the brake pedal assembly. Disconnect the factory female 4-pin brake switch connector and plug in the corresponding remote start harness connectors. Caution: routing remote start harness wires over steering column may cause interference. Make sure there is adequate clearance between the remote start wire harness and steering components. Locate the factory 24-pin female CAN connector on the back side of the fuse panel. Disconnect the factory 24-pin female CAN connector and plug in the corresponding remote start harness connector. Locate the engine tachometer wire located on the driver's side kick panel close to the hood release assembly. The circuit colors are vehicle side blue and black, remote start harness yellow and black. Using one provided T-tap, install on the blue and black wire in pin number 25 of the connector MC11. Use pliers to close and crimp the T-tap to the wire. Route the yellow and black wire of the remote start harness to the T-tap. Insert the spade end of the remote start harness to the T-tap connector. Using a ratchet, extension, and 12mm socket, remove the 12mm bolt located below the A-pillar adjacent to the fuse box at the dash end cap area, and then position the ground wire of the remote start harness with the ring terminal over the bolt. Using a torque wrench, extension, and 12mm socket, tighten the bolt to between 12.3 and 15.9 foot-pounds. Connect the 6-pin remote start harness connector, opaque in color, to the remote start module. Connect the 4-pin remote start harness connector, the black connector, to the remote start module. Connect the 16-pin remote start harness connector, the white connector, to the remote start module. Connect the 6-pin antenna connector, the blue connector, to the remote start module. Ensure that each connector locks into position on the remote start module. Remove the film from the double-sided tape on the antenna and adhere the antenna on top of the main module. Connect the 6-pin antenna connector, the black connector, to the antenna. Make sure that all connectors are snapped in securely. Join 2 cable ties together and install around the module and antenna to secure both parts together. Using a wire cutter, trim off excess wire ties. Pay attention not to press the antenna button. The long wire of the remote start harness is for the hood safety switch. Locate the vehicle's main harness, which passes through the bulkhead to the vehicle's engine compartment. Slightly push the rubber grommet towards the engine compartment to make a gap for the hood safety switch harness. Insert the hood safety switch harness into the gap. Warning: do not push the rubber grommet excessively. If the rubber grommet is missing, the vehicle will not be waterproofed and fumes may enter the interior of the vehicle. After feeding the hood safety switch wire through the grommet, route to the engine compartment and continue to pull the wire through. Please leave approximately 12 inches of length at the interior side of the vehicle. Make sure the rubber grommet is properly reseated back into the bulkhead. Position the main controller module behind the fuse box and then use 2 cable ties to attach to the factory harness. Pay attention not to press the antenna button. Make sure the wire harness does not interfere with the driver's feet. Using wire cutters, trim off excess cable ties. Install 3 cable ties as shown. Using wire cutters, trim off excess cable ties. Install a cable tie connecting the remote start harness and the vehicle's harness. Using wire cutters, trim off excess cable tie. Route the hood safety switch harness beside the factory harness located along the driver's side of the vehicle's bulkhead. Using 2 cable ties, loosely secure the hood safety switch harness to the existing factory harness. Continue to route the hood safety switch harness along the passenger side of the bulkhead. Using 2 cable ties, loosely secure the harness. Do not attach to the engine wiring. Route the harness to the passenger side of the vehicle behind the vehicle strut tower. Using 2 cable ties, loosely secure the hood switch harness to the existing factory harness. Continue routing the hood safety switch harness around the passenger side strut tower, across the passenger's headlamp, and up to the hood latch assembly. Using 4 cable ties, loosely secure the hood safety switch harness to the existing factory harness next to the vehicle's harness anchor points. Caution: the hood safety switch wiring should not be close to the engine drive belt. Leave the ties loose to adjust the length of the harness as necessary later. Do not attach to the yellow wiring headlamp wire harness. Using 1 cable tie, secure the hood safety switch harness to the plastic loop on the passenger side headlamp. Disconnect the coolant drain tube clip from the hood latch bracket using pliers. Using a ratchet, extension, and 10mm socket, remove the 3 10mm bolts and remove the vehicle's hood latch and hood release cable and install the provided hood latch and switch assembly from the kit. Using a torque wrench, extension, and 10mm socket, reinstall the bolts and tighten to 7 foot-pounds. If the latch is not properly installed and torqued to specification, the hood may open suddenly while driving and could cause an accident. Reinstall the hood latch release cable to the kit hood latch assembly and plug in the remote start wire harness connector into the hood latch connector. Attach the harness holder clips to the core support. Attach the harness as necessary and tighten all loose fitted cable ties. Trim off excess cable ties with wire cutters. Make sure both connectors are fully engaged and locked in place and the pins are not bent. Using a 50-50 mix of isopropyl alcohol and water, clean the top surface of the radiator core support. Ensure that the surface is completely dry. Remove the backing on the warning label and mount in place. Reconnect the negative battery cable. Test the lock-unlock function using the factory key fob. If the vehicle is not responding, please carefully recheck all wiring connections, especially the antenna wiring and main module connections. Temporarily replace the hood lever. Close all doors, trunk, and hood. Test the lock-unlock function using the remote start key fob. Perform a function check. Press the button 1 time with all doors, hood, and trunk closed. You'll see the remote lock LED flash, the vehicle signal lights flash once, and all doors will lock. Press the button 2 times. You'll see the remote unlock LED flash, vehicle signal light flash twice, and driver's door will unlock. Press the button 2 more times. The remote unlock LED will flash, vehicle signal light flash twice, and all doors will unlock. Press the button 1 time. You'll see the remote lock LED flash, vehicle signal light flash once, and all doors will lock. Then, within 3 seconds, press and hold the button for 2 seconds. The remote LED will flash, the engine will crank and start within 5 seconds, and the vehicle signal light flash twice after the engine start. After starting the engine with the remote, press the button 2 times. The remote unlock LED will flash, vehicle signal light will flash twice, and the driver's door will unlock. Press the button 2 more times. The remote unlock LED will flash, the vehicle signal light will flash twice, and all doors will unlock. After starting the engine with the remote, press the button 1 time. The remote lock LED will flash, vehicle signal light will flash once, and all doors will lock. After starting the engine with the remote, press and hold the button for 2 seconds. The remote key LED will flash, the engine will shut down. After starting the engine with the remote, open the hood. The engine will shut down immediately. After starting the engine with the remote, unlock and open any door. The engine will shut down after 30 seconds from the door opening. After starting the engine with the remote, open the trunk. The engine will shut down after 50 seconds from the trunk opening. Turning on valet mode. Turn the engine off, the ignition on, press and hold the brake pedal, then press and hold the key fob button for 2 seconds. Valet mode on, the signal lights flash once. Valet mode off, the signal lights flash twice. When the system is in the valet mode, the remote starter will not start the engine. The remote will still lock and unlock the vehicle in valet mode. Note that each time you press the button for 2 seconds, the option is toggled. The default is that the valet mode is off. Reinstall all panels in reverse order of removal. Remember to torque the 4 knee bolster bolts to 7 foot-pounds. Attach the transmitter to the OE key fob rings. Insert the user's guide and owner's guide in the glove box.